shalom.
Shabbat 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 shalom. Lakim.
Shabbat shalom. Lakah.
All right, how's the Mishpachah today?
Hello.
Everyone's well. Yeah. All right, let's go into our Knesset ordinance. The first one, which would be in the book of Devarim, also known as Deuteronomy, chapter 6, starting at verse 1. All right. Now, this is the commandment, the statutes and the judgments which Yahweh, your Elohim, command to teach you, that you might do them in the land into which thou goest to possess it, that thou mayest fear Yahweh thy Elohim, to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee, thou and thy sons sons all the days of thy life, and that thy days may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Yisrael, and take care to do it, that it may be well with thee, and that it may increase mightily as Yahweh Elohim of thy fathers has promised thee in the land that floweth with milk and honey. Hear, O Yisrael, Yahweh R.L., Yahweh is one, and you shall love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thy heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently when thou sittest in thy house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine arm, and thou shalt be as frontlets between thy eyes, and thou shalt write them upon the doorpost of thy house and on thy gates. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Right. Let's go into our Devarim, also known as Deuteronomy, chapter 30, starting at verse 6. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. And Yahweh thy Elohim will circumcise thy heart and the heart of thy seed to love Yahweh thou mayest live. And Yahweh thy Elohim will put all these curses upon thy enemy, and on them who hate thee, who persecute thee. And thou shalt return and obey the voice of Yahweh, and do all his commandments which I command thee this day. And Yahweh thy Elohim will make thee plenteous in every work of thy hand, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cows, and in the fruit of thy land for good. For Yahweh will again rejoice over thee for good, as he rejoiced over thy fathers. If thou shalt hearken to the voice of Yahweh thy Elohim, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which are written in this book of the Torah, and if thou turn to Yahweh thy Elohim with all thy heart and with all thy soul. For this commandment which I command thee this day, it is not hidden from thee, neither is it far off. It is not in the heavens that thou shalt say, who shall go up for us to heaven and bring it to us, that we may hear it and do it? Nor is it beyond the sea that thou shalt say, who shall go over the sea for us to bring it to us, that we may hear it and do it? But the word is very nigh to thee, in thy mouth and in thy heart, that thou mayest do it. See, I have set before thee this day life and good, death and evil. And in that I command thee this day to love Yahweh thy Elohim with all thy, and to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments, and his statutes, and his judgments. Then thou shalt live and multiply. And Yahweh thy Elohim shall bless thee in the land into which thou goest to possess it. But if thy heart turns away, so that thou wilt not hear, but shall be drawn away, and have worship other Elohims, and serve them, I announce to you this day that you shall surely perish, and that you shall not prolong your days upon the land, whether thou passest over the Jordan to possess it. I call heaven and earth to witness this day against you, that I have set before thee life and death, blessings and curses. Therefore, that both thou and thy seed may, that thou mayest love Yahweh thy Elohim, and that thou mayest obey his voice, and that thou mayest cleave to him. For he is thy life, and the length of thy days, and thou mayest dwell in the land which Yahweh swore to thy fathers, to Abraham, to Yitzchak, and to Yaakov to give them. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All right, let's go to our next ordinance, which is in the book of Vayikra, also known as Leviticus, chapter 20, verse 40. Hallelujah. And they shall confess their iniquities and the iniquities of their fathers, which they trespassed against me, and that also they have walked contrary to me, and that I also walked contrary to them, and brought them into the land of their enemies. Then only will their uncircumcised hearts be humble, and then they will make an amends for their sins. Then will I remember my covenant with Yaakov, and also my covenant with Yisrael, and also my covenant with Abraham will I remember. And I will remember the land. The land also shall be forsaken by them, and shall enjoy her Sabbaths while she lies desolate without them. And they shall make an amends for their iniquities, because they despise my judgments, and because they so abhor my statutes. And yet, for all of that, when they are in the land of their enemies, I will not cast them away, nor will I abhor them, to destroy them utterly, and to break my covenant with them. For I am Yahweh thy Elohim. But I will for their sake remember the covenant of their ancestors, whom I brought out of the land of Mitzrayim, in the sight of the nations, that I might be their Elohim. I am Yahweh. These are the statutes and the judgments and the Torah, which Yahweh made between him and the children of Israel in Mount Sinai by the hand of Moshe. Hallelujah.
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 Amen. I was just stand for the Shema, please. Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad, Wa Ahad Te'et, Yahweh Eloheka, V'kol Mibabaka, Ubikol Nifeshka, Ubikol Me'odeka. Hear, O Yisrael, Yahweh El, Yahweh is one, and you shall love Yahweh, your Elohim, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might.
Wadaber Elohim et kal hadabarim ha'ele lemor. Anoki Yahweh leheka. Asher hotzateka me'eretz Mitzrayim beit abadim. Lo chicher leka Elohim achrim al nai. Elohim spoke all these words, saying, I am Yahweh your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other mighty ones before my face. Lo ta'asi leka pasil w'kol tumuna asher ba'shema mima'al wa'asher ba'aretz. Mitakat wa'asher b'mai mitakat la'aretz. Lo tishtaqwe lehem v'lo ta'obdin ki anoki Yahweh Eloheka. Elkuna poked amuna bat al banim al shilishim wel rebiem lesinai. Wa'ase kesed le'alapim le'ohabai u'shemrei mitzvotai. You do not make for yourself any carved images or any likeness of that which is in the heavens above, the earth beneath, the waters under the earth. You do not bow down to them nor serve them, for I, Yahweh your Elohim, am a jealous El, visiting the crookedness of the fathers onto the children of the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing loving kindness to thousands who love me and guard my commands. Lo tesai Shem Yahweh Eleheka, l'shal ke lo yanakwa, Yahweh. You do not take the name Yahweh your Elohim in vain, for Yahweh does not leave the one unpunished who takes his name in vain. Zakora Yom HaShabbat Lechasho, Shishi Yamim Ta'abo Asata Ko Melakteka, Yom Hashbi Shabbat Yahweh Leheka. Lo Ta'ase Ko Melak, Ata, Ubenka, Ubeteka, Abdeka, Wa'amaka, Ubihem Teka, Wagega Asher Bishareka. Kishishi Yamim Asa Yahweh et Hashemayim. Wa'et ha'aretz et hayam wa'et ko asherbam. Wa'yanak ba'yom hashbi el ken barak Yahweh et yom hashabat v'yakadesh. Remember the Shabbat day, set it apart. 6 days you labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Shabbat unto Yahweh your Elohim. You do no work. You, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor the cattle, nor the stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days Yahweh created the heavens, the earth, the seas, and all that's in it, and rested on the seventh day. Therefore Yahweh barak the Shabbat day and set it apart. Kabere abecha we emecha lema'anya arakunya meka aha dema Yahweh leheka noten la. Honor your father and your mother, so your days may be prolonged upon the soil which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you. Lo terzah, you do not murder. Lo tenaf, you do not commit adultery. Lo tigno, you do not steal. Lo ta'ane berecha et shaker, you do not bear false witness against your neighbor. Lo takmod bet reeka, lo takmod shet reeka, wa abdo, wa amato, wishiro, wa kamaro, weko asher reeka. You do not covet the house of your neighbor. You do not covet the wife of your neighbor, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, cattle, or donkey, or whatever else that belongs to your neighbor. Thus readeth the law. Hallelujah.
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 Hallelujah. Think not that I come to destroy the law or the prophets. I do not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, not one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law until all be fulfilled. And whoever shall break the least of these commandments and teach man to do so shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. And the ones who do these commandments and teach man likewise shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. And the two greatest commandments of them all is to love Yahweh, your Elohim, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might, and to love thy neighbor as thyself. Hallelujah.
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 Yah Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Elohei Abraham, Yitzchak with Yisrael. O great one of our very existence, we humbly submit ourselves before thee on this set apart day, even the holy Shabbat day. Toda Rabbah Yehovah Eloheinu, for the invitation into this set apart day. That as we have even learned in the past week, that in all your creating of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that in them is, this day you hallowed, O great King. You set apart, and you even allowed us to know that throughout our time span, that this is the day that we even glorify your name on a whole different level, O great King. That we separate ourselves from the things that we do during the course of the week. That we even leave the burdens at our doorposts, O great King, as we enter the holy chambers of the Shabbat day. We thank you for protecting us against the harms seen and unseen as we were in the midst of this past week in a world that is filled with chaos and mayhem, O great King. Very similar to that of the portion that we will go into today, O great King. An understanding of the evilness that was in this earth as it is present. But you have a righteous seed in this earth, O great King, and that would be us, Kol Beit Yisrael, that call upon your name and your name alone as a representation of you, Yehovah Elohim. So we thank you for even considering us from all the nations that you had even created, that you set us apart and placed us high above all the other nations. Though the visual aspect might not seem that way in this day and time, as we are treated as less than a man, that in a lot of cases, an animal has more rights than your children, O great King. But we realize that through a lack of obedience, and even in this day and time, has allowed us to be placed in this position. But you've even allowed us to know that we do not hold our heads down in shame, but we do recognize the error of our ways so that you can forgive us and even elevate us to a whole nother level as what is going on in the present day and time. That there's a great awakening in this nation, O great King. And we even, once again, humbly submit ourselves before thee and ask that you guide us in righteousness for thy great name's sake. All praise, all honor, and all glory are due to you and you alone, now, henceforth, and forevermore. Hallelujah! 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 Hallelujah!
Man, all praises to the Most High. To the book of Tehillim, also known as the book of Psalms. And we're gonna go to 132. Psalms 132. Hallelujah, when you get it. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All right. So he's on Psalms chapter 132. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
A Malak poem. Yahweh remembered to David's favor all his afflictions, how he swore to Yahweh and vowed to the mighty Elohim of Yaakov, surely I will not come into the tabernacle of my house, nor go up into my bed. I will not give sleep to my eyes, slumber to my eyelids, until I have found out a place for Yahweh, a habitation for the mighty one of Yaakov. Lo, we heard it at Ephrat. We found it in Sedar Ya'ar. We will go into his dwelling place. We will worship at his footstool. Arise, O Yahweh, to thy resting place, thou and the ark of thy strength. Let thy priests be clothed with righteousness, and let thy pious ones shout for joy. For thy servant David said, do not turn away the face of thy anointed. Yahweh has sworn in truth to David. He will not turn from it. One of his sons of thy body will I set up thy throne. If thy children will keep my covenant and my testimonies that I shall teach them, their children shall also sit upon thy throne forevermore. For Yahweh has chosen Zion. He has desired it from the habitations. This is my resting place forever. Here will I dwell, for I have desired it. I will abundantly bless her provisions. I will satisfy her poor with bread. I will also clothe her priests with salvation, and her pious ones shall shout aloud for joy. There will I make the horn of David to sprout out, to shoot out. I have set up his enemies. I will clothe with shame, but upon him his crown will flourish. Hallelujah.
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 All right. All praises to the Most High, y'all. Anyone with a hallelujah? Anyone with a hallelujah?
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
I'd like to give a hallelujah. First and foremost, I want to give all praise to the Most High, Elohim of life and the death. God for showing us favor for them to get here safely. I pray that whoever else is making their way here, that they be able to get there safely.
Okay.
I'll ran into some good information. Ran into somebody who helped me out on a certain level. So I meditated on it all this week, set a tequila on it. So I need some impact input from y'all. So I don't know which direction to go. It's a blessing, man, to be in this position. I just want to say to that y'all, continue on growing, help my family to grow, and make my family and my children understand that when you commit yourself to the Most High, when you do the Torah, get opportunity that I'm getting right now. You know, that's the only thing that's changed for me, serving the Creator. Okay. Put my best foot forward, meditating on y'all, my different situations that I go through, even if I'm wrong or I'm right, whatever the case may be. Just meditate on my situation and do the best that I feel that y'all want to do. Okay. I want to give it to y'all for that. Hallelujah for another Holy Shabbat day. I'm looking forward to that.
Okay. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Anyone else with a hallelujah?
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Hallelujah.
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 Hallelujah. Blessed be the Elohai of Abraham, Elohai Yitzchak, Elohai Yaakov, through Yisrael. So Toda Rabbah for this week. Toda Rabbah for the blessings and protections he has provided us this week, keeping us safe, serving us with mercy, serving us with favor, serving us with just remembering stuff, you know, just allowing us to complete tasks, complete things, you know, in his kingdom. You know, just saying Todah Rabbah to the to councils of the elders, you know, to the teachings of the Morim, you know, and just I just want to say Todah Rabbah to the Most High for my Isha, you know, she holding it down at the bait, you know, so taking care of the yellow dem, and yeah, Shabbat Shalom, Mishpakai.
Shabbat Shalom. Anyone else want to say y'all? Shabbat Shalom.
Family and Todah if there are any services, we can come out. Praise the Lord.
Okay, hallelujah. Anyone else with a hallelujah? I guess. Ima.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All praises to the Most High Yah, Creator, Redeemer, and my Sustainer.
Hallelujah.
The Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and me.
Hallelujah.
I want to thank you for the Sukkot season that we just had, and how successful that was, and how enlightening that was, and how it gave us all a chance to grow. I want to thank him for the week that I had going back to work. It was hard after being out 2 weeks. Going back was like the alarm goes off and you go, "What's that for?" You know, your feet hit the floor. You try to get the rhythm that you had before, and it was like forward and backwards and forward and backwards. So I had a rough time getting back to work. But once I got back to work, then I had trouble figuring out, well, what did I do here? So it was that kind of week for me this past week. But at the end of the week, everything that I had to get done got done. And I'd have to say during Sukkot, I could get a phone call. The person that I work with thought was important. They weren't. There were things I took care of before I left and informed everybody that you're going to get this on Monday, the first day I get back. It's going to be prepared. It's going to be signed. But she was concerned that, oh, this isn't going to happen in time. And we should be able to do this when you're out. It looked like it's that easy. It's as complicated as you think it is. And I can do it. But it was a great week. And the beginning of Shabbat, I got a phone call. My Ish had to go to the daughter's house because she was in labor and was going to the hospital. So we have a new family addition, a baby girl, 6 pounds, 3 ounces, and healthy. So my Ish today is at their house while they're in the hospital. He's at the house with the other children. So I want to thank y'all for a successful drive over without any traffic issues or people changing lanes when they're not supposed to.
Y'all for life, strength, endurance, and for the Sukkot season. 2 weeks off, then you gotta retrain yourself and go back to work. So all praises to the Most High. Anyone else want to hallelujah? All right, cool. Everybody read the portion this week?
Or had it read to them?
Or have it read to them? Short portion? All right. Anybody read the half Torah? Okay. Well, I guess we can go ahead and we'll do a little something different normally we don't do. We're going to read the half Torah first. And that will be done by Sar Nehemiah Ephraim.
You may be seated for Baruch Shah. Rising, giving all honor, glory, and praise, exaltation to the supreme intelligence of our very existence on this beautiful Shabbat day. Thanking him for your lives, for my life, and the lives of whole big Yisrael on the four corners of the earth, calling upon his name and his name alone. But asking that he grant mercy and compassion upon those that know not his name, that each and every one of us can be used as tools to return them to the salvation which resides within his excellence. It'll be in the book of Yeshayahu or Isaiah, 54th chapter, starting at verse 1 through 55:5. Our Torah portion set aside for this day. And it reads on this wise. Sing, O barren one, thou that didst not bear, break forth into singing and cry aloud, thou that didst not travail with child. For more are the children of the desolate than the children of the married wife, says Jehovah. Enlarge the place of thy tent, and let them stretch forth the curtains of thy habitations. Spare not, lengthen thy cords, and strengthen thy stakes. For thou shalt break forth on the right hand and on the left, and thy seed shall possess nations, and make desolate cities to be inhabited. Fear not, for thou shalt not be ashamed, neither be confounded, for thou shalt not be put to shame. But thou shalt forget the shame of thy youth, and shalt not remember the reproach of thy widowhood any more. For thy maker is thy husband, Jehovah of hosts is his name, and thy redeemer is the Holy One of Yisrael. The Elohim of the earth, the whole earth is he called. For Jehovah has called thee as a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit, but a wife of youth. Can she be cast off, says thy power? For a small moment have I forsaken thee, but with great mercies will I gather thee. In the overflowing of wrath, I hid my face from thee for a moment, but with everlasting, faithful love will I have mercy on thee, says thy Redeemer, Jehovah. For this is as the waters of Noach to me, as I have sworn that the waters of Noach shall no more go over the earth, so I sworn that I would not be furious with thee, nor rebuke thee. For the mountains shall depart, and the hills shall be removed, but my faithful love shall not depart from thee. Neither shall the covenant of my peace be removed, says Jehovah, that has mercy on thee. Thou afflicted, tossed with tempest, and not comforted. Behold, I will lay thy stones with fair colors, and thy foundations with sapphires, and I will make thy windows of rubies, and thy gates of beryl, and thy borders of the choicest stones. And all thy children shall be taught of Jehovah, and great shall be the peace of thy children. In righteousness shalt thou be established. Keep away from oppression. Then thou shalt not fear. And from terror, then it shall not come near thee. Behold, they may well gather together, but not by me. Whoever shall gather together against thee shall fall for thy sake. Behold, I have created the smith that blows upon the fire of the coals, and that brings forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. And every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment, thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of Jehovah, and the recompense of their righteousness appointed by me, says Jehovah. Ho, everyone that thirsts, come to the water, and he that has no money, come buy and eat. Come buy wine and milk without money and without price. Why do you spend money for that which is not bread, and your labor for that which satisfies not? Hearken diligently to me, and eat that which is good, and let thy soul delight itself in thy fatness. Incline your ear, and come to me. Hear, and your soul shall live. And I will make an everlasting covenant with you, even the sure loving promises of Dawid. Behold, I have made him a witness to the peoples, a leader, a commander of the nations. Behold, thou shalt call a nation that thou know a nation that thou knowest not, and nations that knew not thee shall return to thee, because Jehovah thy power, and for the Holy One of Yisrael, for he has glorified thee. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Some very powerful words that were spoken there. About to break down, we have an understanding of this covenant of peace. We have an understanding that the things that make us shake in the night, the things that we are concerned with, the Most High said, don't be concerned with these things. Most High said, just put your trust, your faith, and your understanding in me. The Most High said that once you understand that you don't need to fear them, they need to fear you because you serve me. You understand? There's not a weapon form that can prosper. So that covenant of peace that we understand, you know, as we're going to understand in the portion today, is a very important thing for us to recognize when we look at that rainbow in the sky and how it's been perverted with its purpose. And people are comfortable with transgressing that which the Most High placed on record for our understanding. I thank the Most High for the covenant of peace that he has with his children as we return into his greatness. And I pray that we all get some form of understanding out of the lesson that is going to be brought forth today. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up Mori Malakia. Hallelujah. With Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, family.
Shabbat Shalom.
And Shabbat Shalom again.
Shabbat Shalom.
How's everybody? Everybody told me? Okay. Excited to see everybody this week again. See your faces. And excited to get into this week's Torah portion. You know, each time I read through this, I always get something different. And I guess it's designed to be that way, you know. Each time, we were able to grow in some shape, form, or fashion, based on what we're reading, what we're learning, and everything that Yah is teaching us through the Tanakh, through the scriptures. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Let me just ask a quick question. What stood out to you this week in the portion? It's okay. It's okay. Go ahead.
First before the flood, we really was doing everything we felt. We was doing the desires in our heart before the flood. And it was definitely like a good side and like a bad side. So that was definitely strong. And also when I'm meditating on Yah, we thinking about destructive things like making weapons, conjuring up things that's not conducive to our health. That one that's serving Yah, so you always got the opportunity to turn back to the Creator. So that's what I was getting from that night. I always give you the opportunity to turn back when people just want to do what they want to do in their heart. You know?
The brother speaking, Brother Prince Nathaniel, he was saying, well, he was breaking down the Torah portion, and what stood out to me the most was that our diets changed from plant eating to the Most High giving us more cleanly animals to eat by separating, the unclean animals and the clean animals. So he gave us more leniency with our diet as far as meat eating.
Okay, diet got changed up. Okay. Anybody else on? Where are they?
And another thing too that stood out, because I was looking at that too. But like you said, it could have been species out there in the world that existed that after the flood, it's not here no more. You know, that was a very interesting thing that I looked into. I'm probably gonna look into that some more because I want to see like where that leads me. You know.
Right. All right.
I just wanted to ask, because I know this is part of the question. Was there a possibility that there was dinosaurs around that time?
I don't know.
They find like dinosaur fossils high up in the mountains and stuff like that. And I feel like during the flood, you know how when things happen, animals move.
Right.
So it kind of I feel like maybe,
I mean, I'll say this. There's a lot of different theories about that. But just in terms of what those I'm gonna say prehistoric animals might have looked like, or or whatever the case may be. It's a possibility either way. You know what I mean? And perhaps maybe you see some so for an example, right? There's one word in the portion from last week. It's called ta'anim, right? And a lot of times that's translated as like a big whale or like a crocodile. And you kind of see some of that same imagery in reference to the land of Egypt, because the same word is used again to describe that particular power structure. So, I mean, perhaps I can't say that it was, or but you got what they call paleontologists, right? And they excavate certain types of bone structures and so on and so forth. So okay, all right. Iman.
What stood out to me is that his 3 sons and their wives and his spouse on the ark before the rain started. I mean, I think of family members. I could get Sam to get on there. If he had a wife, I probably could get her on there. But in our time, if we were assigned something like that, we're building a ship where where the rain has not been a problem, nowhere near the water. We're telling everybody that it's going to rain, and that's why we need to get on the ship. And your children are looking at you like you're crazy, because a lot of the things that we tell our children, they don't always know it's for their own good. It just seems like we're being hard on them, and we won't let them do what little Johnny can do and what little Susie can do. So they feel like they're just being kept away from the fun. But in this instance, he had to get his children, who would be adults, and their spouses on this ship. And it seemed like he did it without a hitch. And that stood out to me, that his life must have been as such.
Hey man, we gotta go get on this boat. Get ready to go down. Right? Okay. All right, so let's get to it, right? Noach. Right? Means rest. Right? Anybody remember the phrase that was given in last week's portion? What did who's Noah's father? Lamech, right? And then what did the portion tell us last week in reference to Noah coming into the earth?
Then quoting on that name was righteous. I forgot the line of words he used, but when he came, I think the righteous seed started over.
So when Noah came, you said the righteous seed started at that point?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else remember? Well,
Especially, I'm not sure if I was in here for it, but I know that it said that he would be a comforter to us and for the toils, something about working the grounds.
right. You know, when Adam missed the mark, right? It was said that cursed is the ground, right?
Okay.
But for your sake. And then later on, it comes in and it says, hey, look, he's gonna have a son. His name's gonna be called Noach. For the Most High shall give us rest from the toiling and the working of the ground, so to speak. Right? Now, before we actually, get into the portion, right? I want to take a look at something. So notice it said back in I think it's like chapter 6, verse 3. It said that Elohim said that his Ruach shall not strive with man continually, right? Because he has become flesh. Okay? But earlier, we talked about Adam. It said that Adam was in the image and likeness of Elohim, right? So, what are we to deduce from that? I'm gonna write this word up here. Think about it for a second. Demon, right? That's the word that's used for strive in Genesis 6:3. So I said, my ruach, my spirit shall not always strive with man, right? Because he has become flesh, right? And then you notice later, right? It said that Seth and his family was in the image and likeness of who? Adam, right? So, two things with this, right? Zelim and Damu, right? These are the two words that describe image and likeness, right? But not necessarily, how we hear that, we probably think of this form. Physical form, right? Which there's another word for that. It's called Tohar. And that's kind of like how Yosef is described, right? Say that Yosef was, he was a handsome brother, right? He was good looking in form. That's how he's described later on down the line when we read about him, right? But what is Zelim and Damu? Anybody ever heard of these words before? Anybody? So I'll just put it like this, right? Image and likeness, it physical endearment, right? So there's a song. Where is it? But it goes on and says that I am like a pelican in the wilderness, right? But not necessarily in the form of a pelican, right? Nobody could actually be compared to the form of a pelican, right? No human being is like that, right? But oftentimes when you deal with these words right here, you deal with some abstract connotation, right? So there you go. Metaphor. That's what we would call it, a metaphor, right? So to go from Zelim and Damu, right, to now be in the image and likeness of Adam, right? Something has happened mentally. Because I was talking with the elder this week, right? When they said that they saw that, I mean, well, they knew. I'm sorry, they knew that they were naked, right? Right. Well, why didn't they just see that they saw? So what's the difference in Hebrew thought from knowing something and seeing something? Did it change? They saw the same thing, right? So their perception is different. So, now you're at the point where you regard something as being wrong or something as being, out of the way that you didn't regard in that fashion before, right? So the mentality has changed. Now the mentality is degraded, right? So on to the point where, we're getting to the point where by the time we're talking about Noach, right? Psalms chapter 7. Okay, I said 52. All right, Psalms chapter 7, where it talks about that imagery I was talking about with the pelican, right? So by the time you get to talking to Noach, or we get into that portion, right? Man has become what they call shagag, right? Which means that he has become deceived, right? Sins ignorantly, does things that's just kind of off the mark, right? But let me ask you this, right? What was the influence? I mean, just from the point that, Adam did what he did, all the way to Noah, what was the influence?
Would it have to be a diet?
You said it was their diet? Well, they wasn't eating any meat.
Exactly.
So you saying the plants made them go crazy?
No. Whatever told them to eat of fruit, it deceived them maybe.
So the Nakash. The Nakash was the influence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Go ahead.
I think, because it said they did all things wicked that they could imagine, So I think you get to a point where they're creating weapons and they even defiled the animals.
Okay. All right.
So I think they're getting to a point where how they made the decision that they have the knowledge of contrast now. And they already see what their ancient forefather Cain had done. He went on this path. And I think they're just making more decisions based upon that to do more wickedness. Like they're just making more of the incorrect decisions.
Okay. Go ahead, son.
Okay, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I want to go back off what my brother said.
Curry good. I knew y'all curry good.
In which it was a pattern of behavior that it continued. And as I spoke with you a little bit earlier, when I looked at the Hebrew word for corrupt, which is keet, that is rotted or defilement. It's a description of our behavior and how we actually conducted ourselves. And I parallel that thought to, like, let's just say a garment of clothing that you loan your sibling. That's just in immaculate condition when you give it to them. But when they give it back, there's a big pin stain in there. It was a white garment, but they decided to wash it with items that were not color coordinated. So now your white shirt is pinkish blue, and the threading, it's just starting to come unraveled. So you're looking at it, it's like, this is destroyed. What is this? So your first thought is, I'm getting rid of this because it is no longer the pure item that I gave you, and I have to go replace it with something else. So the pattern of behavior was just built up to be such unacceptable that it, now you're looking at a defiled people that Mosai just decided that he wanted to this you got to go. So that he's kept or corrupt, that's, I think that this a continual flow of that type of behavior is what caused this situation we're in.
So, okay, and I want us to key in on something, right? Patterns of behavior. Patterns, right? Now, check this out, right? I think I might have said it last week. On everything that was created, the only thing that had an issue was man. Everything else functioned and did exactly whatever its function was, it operated in its function. Mankind did not operate in its function. That's the pattern so far, except for a few, right? Which just brings us to Noach. It said that Noach found favor, right, in the eyes of the Creator. And he goes on later on to say that he was a stand-up and he was a righteous, he was an upright man, right? So lesson number one, right? Israel or not, right? If you want to go all the way back to then, right, you don't have to be somebody that has deviant behavior, right? Noah didn't do that. So notice the pattern, okay? And at this point, right, I want to highlight something, right? So like, as we kind of read, Genesis 1 to Genesis 11, okay? You have, I would say, the summation of creation that's dealing with the Creator at this time, right? It's really not itemized to one particular group, deal, however you want to call it, right? It's not in an itemized section, right? Mankind has become deviant in its behavior, right? So the objectivity of remaining connected to source or connected to the Creator has now become severed because of the decisions that mankind makes. Adam and his Isha said that they heard the voice of the Creator walking in the garden. They only heard the voice, right? And it's kind of like some of that same imagery, some of that same language that you kind of hear with the Nebi'im, with the prophets, with seers, with dreamers, right? People that have visions, so on and so forth. Hearing the voice walking. That means that your zelim in your demut or image and likeness, right, can respond to the image and the likeness. Follow what I'm saying? Okay. So it transcends that idea of just like, the flesh gig, right? Because the flesh only manifests what the soul is. Which you can't see the soul, you see the flesh. Okay. All right. So let's start reading this. Bereshit, chapter 6, starting at verse 8. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Sefer Bereshit, book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 8. These are the generations of Noach. Noach was a just man and perfect in his generations.
Wait, nobody can be perfect.
Uh-oh.
Right? And I'm going to admit this, right? I don't think perfect means without flaw.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
I would say that, perfect is to be understood as a mature person. Someone who is mature thinking. You follow what I'm saying? Not that you can't mess up or you don't make a mistake, right? but you're mature. Okay, all right.
And Noach walked with Elohim. And Noach begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth also was corrupt before Elohim, and the earth was filled with violence. And Elohim looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted its way upon the earth. And Elohim said to Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make thee an ark of gopher wood. Rooms shall you make in the ark, and shall pitch it within and without with pitch. This is the fashion of which thou shalt make it. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, the breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits. A window shalt thou make to the ark, and to a cubit shalt thou finish it above. And the door of the ark shalt thou set in its side, with lower, second, and third stories shalt thou make it. And behold, I will bring the flood of waters upon the earth, to destroy all flesh, in which is the breath of life from under heaven. And everything that is on the earth shall die. But with thee and thou shalt come into the ark, thou and thy sons, and thy wife, and thy sons' wives with thee. And of every living thing of all flesh, 2 of every sort shalt thou bring into the ark, to keep them alive with thee. They shall be male and female, of birds after their kind, and of cattle after their kind, of every creeping thing of the earth after its kind.
I want to point something out, right? In verse 18, right, it says, but with you will I establish my covenant, right? Join the words in the Hebrew language, in Hebrew class a couple of weeks ago, right? And if you got a Hebrew text, take a look at it, right? There's a word that it says there. It says, Wuha Kimoti, right? The root word is like kum or quam. It means to establish or to stand, right? Make something erect, right? But as you kind of progress in the language, right? If you ever see this, right, in front of a word that's a noun or that's a verb, it lets you know that there's a question that's being asked. Not the definite article, which means, like, let's say if I say Ha-Adam, right? That's just the man. Everybody follow me? So on the other side of that, without necessarily this pointing right here, this hey means the, right? But with this pointing, you know that a question is being asked. So the question is, shall I establish my covenant with you?
Come on.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
It's kind of like, how we was reading the song of Moshe, and you know how it says, and you shall return.
Right.
But when we looked at that word odd, right? Return until, right? In other words, keep doing it until you do it. Don't stop, right? Same thing here, right? Here we have something that's, it's kind of encoded in the text, right? In a question format. And definitely not saying Noach wasn't a worthy candidate to have a covenant established, right? This kind of walks us into understanding covenants and why they're important. So, the terms of the covenant, right? They'll be outlined, and then you always have a sign of the covenant, right? Terms of the covenant, sign of the covenant. Okay, let me just read this right quick, right? I wrote this about covenant in the notes if you got it. In Akkadian, right? There's an Akkadian word. It's called barter. right? Anybody know the Hebrew word for covenant? Berit, right? In Akkadian, there's a word that's called baru, right? And baru means to establish a legal situation by testimony with an oath. So if you pay attention to the language as far as like, you know, when all these things kind of get outlined, right? That's exactly how it's formulated, right? And this is the covenant that I'm going to establish with you, right? And so on it gets to Abraham, and I'm going to establish my covenant with you. This is my this is the covenant between me and the earth, the both. Pay very, very close attention to this language that we're reading, right? Because you'll notice the patterns or the patterns of behavior. Okay? So if you just want some words for it, like berit, it's an alliance, it's an agreement, accompanied by signs, sacrifices, and maybe even a solemn oath. Right? So when Abraham split those animals in half, right, and they walked between the animals, they were making a what? It's an agreement. Covenant of salt. An agreement. Covenant of blood. Right? Now, I'm not saying that's a term that's utilized in the Tanakh, but you do see the usage of blood later on, you know, when you're dealing with the children of Israel at the mount, and they're sprinkling blood on the people. Now you enter into that covenant. The same thing that kind of happens between a man and his wife when they enter into a covenant. That kind of seals the deal, right? They all work together, right? Keep in mind the patterns. Most High is very consistent in what he does. He teaches us through the consistency of things. All right? Not saying that there can't be a new thing every now and then, right? Because clearly we know that the Most High can do something out of anything, right? But pay attention to the consistency. All right, let's go.
Verse 19. And of every living thing of all flesh, 2 of every sort shalt thou bring into the ark, to keep them alive with thee. They shall be male and female, of birds after their kind, and of cattle after their kind, of every creeping thing of the earth after its kind. 2 of every sort shall come to thee, to keep them alive. And take thou to thee of all food that is eaten, and gather it to thee, and it shall be for food for thee and for them. So Noach did according to all that Elohim commanded him. Thus he did. And Yahuwah said to Noah, Come thou, and all thy house, into the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. Of every clean beast thou shalt take 10, male and female, and of beasts that are male and female, of birds of the air.
Another pattern, right? Male, female, right? And we'll go back to the beginning of Genesis, right? He created man, he created them what? Male and female, right? That is the cycle of life. It only begins life. Everybody follow what I'm saying?
Okay.
So, if kind of all know what's going on in society, right? But again, that kind of falls into, what Zokane was talking about earlier, as far as, what mankind has become devoid of its function. Things are happening that aren't necessarily functional, right, for mankind nowadays, right? Everybody follow what I'm saying? Yeah. So male and female, right? The earth follows the same pattern, right? There's seeds in the ground, seeds of water, and then comes forth what? Life. Okay? So that's not, you got a couple of witnesses that attest to the past. Right? Again, the Tanakh might say something like, give ear, who?
Oh,
heavens and the earth. Why? I mean, they very familiar with the patterns. It's been the same from the beginning. Very important. All right, come on.
Chapter 7, verse 3. Of birds of the air, also by sevens, the male and the female, to keep seed alive upon the face of all the earth. For in another 7 days I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. And every living substance that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the earth. And Noach did according to all that Yahuwah commanded him. And Noach was 600 years old when the flood of waters was upon the earth. And Noach went in, and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with him into the ark, because of the waters of the flood, of clean beasts and of beasts that are not clean, and of birds and of everything that creeps upon the earth. There went in 2 and 2 to Noach into the ark, male and female, as Elohim had commanded Noach. And it came to pass, after 7 days, that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. In the 600th year of Noach's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, on that same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken open, and the windows of heaven were open, and the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. In the selfsame day, Noach and Shem and Ham and Japhet, the sons of Noach, and Noach's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them, entered into the ark. They and every beast after its kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth after its kind, and every bird after its kind, every bird of every sort. And they went in to Noach into the ark, 2 and 2 of all flesh, in which is the breath of life. And they went, and they that went in, male and female, of all flesh, as Elohim had commanded him. And Yahuwah shut him in. And the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased and bore up the ark, and it was raised above the earth, and the waters prevailed, and were increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went upon the face of the waters. And the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high mountains that were under the whole heaven were covered. 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered, and all flesh perished that moved upon the earth, both of birds and of cattle, and of beasts, and of every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth, and all mankind. All in whose nostrils was the breath of...
I thought all the life came on the boat. Read it again. It said all flesh that moved upon the earth, both of birds, of cattle, and beasts, and of every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth, and all mankind, all those whose the nostril was the breath of life, of all that was on dry land died. But 2 of everything just went on the ark. Well, what's going on here? Is it as a remnant?
Everything except what was on the ark.
Huh?
Everything except what was on the ark.
No, you didn't miss anything. Right? So, yeah, everything except what was on the ark, right? But of every clean beast takes 7, right? And then what was the other?
2.
The unclean, you take 2. Right? But here we see that everything that had it all died. So I got you.
Okay. Saying that.
I'm just trying to give you some contrast, right? Because in one hand, somebody say, well, everything died, right? But how did he determine what was clean and what wasn't?
Good answer. Love that answer.
How could he determine, what distinguished this cow from that cow? What distinguished this bird from that bird? Even though that bird might be unclean.
Maybe he took the animals without blemish.
The only conclusion I can come to about any further study, because it's not given, is that Most High directed.
Okay.
But it definitely speaks to it definitely speaks to law and existence. I mean,
it does, but
yeah,
I wanna highlight those terms again. Zelim and Damut. Right? In which that which transposes the flesh, right, is directly connected. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't routinely express that in the text. But to make that differentiation out of everything that's on the earth, right? And it's not using any terminology for, okay, well, maybe those birds were pterodactyls or something like that. It's not really expressing it like that, but I just want to evolve beyond probably what's written, just for face value, just for a minute. I want to show you how the brother was probably thinking. Because who was training him? It doesn't really tell us. But it said he walked with the Most High. The same thing that we're told to do. Walk humbly with your Elohim. Notice the patterns. Okay? All right.
22. All in whose nostrils was the breath of life, of all that was on dry land, died. And he destroyed every living substance which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle, and creeping things, and the birds of the heaven. They were destroyed from the earth, and Noach only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark. And the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days.
Hold up. When y'all see stuff like this, do you ever write it down? All right. So Noah was 600 years old, right? When this began to take place, 40 days, right? It flooded. The flood was on the earth for 150 days, right? In the second month, on the 17th day, right? That's when everything began. Like, why are we getting these specific details? Why can't it just be, the flood came?
Right.
And it rained on the earth, and the earth was flooded. So, if I want to ask a question, right? 150 days is how many months?
6.
5 months.
It's about 5 months and some change, right?
Let's call it 6.
Okay. So 150 days. You say 5 months and 3 days? How do you get 3 days?
Some months have 31 days, some have 30. So 3, 6, 9, 12.
Well, check me out. You can't get 150 days out of some months having 31 and some months having 29.
It might be 40.
Right? Where's my mathematician at over there?
Closer to 6.
No, it's closer to 5 actually, but I would say it's over 5, but it's closer to if you go around.
People.
150 days at 30 would be what?
It'd be 5 months.
Right. But
At 30 days.
At 30 days.
That's why I said at 30 days. So I would say over, but closer to 150.
Well, here's the thing. When you get a chance, do some math with that. Examine that closely. Okay?
Right.
Juggle the months between 29 and 30 and 31 and get 5 months. Right?
Right.
Just a thought. Say it again.
Right, I'm about to say.
What does it matter?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what you feel me? What does it matter? American months,
Because American
British months.
time might not be right.
We different.
Not we because we get Israel, but America a little bit.
But I'm asking you some very case particulars, right? Second month, 17th day of the month. 150 days.
Yeah. 30 for 150 for 30-day months is adds right up to it.
We'll get to it, right? It's gonna give us some details. And look, let me say this, right? As I kind of bring this out, I don't want anybody to think like I'm trying to sway you on anything, right? I'm only pointing out what we're reading. Okay? And we're talking about patterns of behavior. Sar mentioned patterns of behavior. Okay? All right. Proceed.
Chapter 8, verse 1. And Elohim remembered Noach and every living thing, and all the cattle that were with him in the ark. And Elohim made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters were assuaged. The fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. And the waters receded from the earth continually. And after the end of 150 days, the waters were abated. And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month.
So somewhere in this equation right here, right, I get 150 days. Right? So from the 2nd month to the 7th month, right, says that these waters were on the earth for 150 days. So they only rained for 40. You know, a lot of, and y'all know how it gets when it rains just for one day out here all day, right? Water kind of goes up, right? Okay.
Verse 4. And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, were the tops of the mountains seen. And it came to pass.
In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month. Right? So, now, I'm not saying that, because I know the question gets asked. I'm not saying in the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, Noach was observing trumpets. I mean, excuse me, not trumpets, but teruah. Right? That's what happens on the 10th day, 1st day of the month, right? And then on the 10th day is Yom Kippur in the 10th month, right? I'm not saying that that's what happened, right? But I wanted to examine some congruent thoughts, right? So the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, that should, everybody said, each one of those months is 30 days, right? Okay. 17 minus 30, you got 13 days remaining, right? So that 13 and that 17, right? That accounts for another month. So if that's 30 days, and that's 30 days, and that's 30 days, and that's 30 days, right? That's 120 days. Okay?
How far did you go down to the 6th month?
I went down to like I said, the 7th month on the 17th day.
All right, I got you.
Right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. 13 plus 17 is how many? Who?
30.
That's 30 days. That's 150 days.
Hallelujah.
Everybody follow what I'm saying? That's 150 days. Now, I'm not going to go any further than this for a reason. Okay? For a very case-specific reason. But what I do challenge everybody to do is giving this information in reference to the flood account. You know what I'm saying? Why do I need to know this? And then why does it furthermore come back to talk about the 10th month on the 1st day, right? Oh, go ahead, yo.
Oh,
No, I thought you was.
with his thought. You just a thought.
Go ahead.
I just want to share a thought.
Share a thought.
Let's say it is, a whole 12 months, 30 days each, outside of reading other sources. Let's just go with what Tanakh says, 30 days each for 12 months, right? That's what, 360, right? So half of that is 180. So when, you know, similar to like, if the Most High tells you to shub or to turn, what's the degree of turning?
360. Oh, you meant the full degree? Oh, half. Okay. Okay. Yeah, 180.
Because you're not, because if you turn all the way, you're going back to the same. But if you go halfway, so how many months is the seasons of the feast days? 6 months, right? So we got from Pesach, which is the 14th of the first, to the what? 7th. So that's.
So if I, you know, and we could, you know, this would probably be okay. This would probably be like another lesson in itself, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm gonna say this sequencing of time, you know, what I'm saying, is kind of accurate with the sequencing of time, you know, what I'm saying, as it could apply to Moedim, right?
It seems like you were just saying, based upon what was in scripture, it would be right around the time that we just came out of.
Right.
And when you're looking at that, you're looking at the sound of the trumpet, so forth and so on, which when we're talking about wiping out existence and starting from anew, what do you have?
So follow the patterns. Okay? Now, I got a disclaimer out there. I'm not going to get into anything about a lunar month, a lunar year, a solar year. I ain't going to get into none of that.
Totally.
All right? But I do want you to examine it. I want you to take a close look at it, right? And I brought some references, right? I'm going to say what this is, right? There's a book that I have. It's called Studies in Hebrew, Astronomy, and Mathematics, right? And this is by Shlomo Sternberg, right? And it really gets into, I'm just going to say, that arena of mathematical quantification, right? Astronomy, astrology, right? Talks about a lot of different things, right? Stuff that I think, you know, we should be subject matter experts on. Okay. All right? I'm going to leave that there. I got another book over here. It's called The Time at Amar, right? The Cultic Calendar and the Rituals from the Diviner's House. And this is by Mr. Daniel Fleming. And, it gets into a lot of observances, right, that were similar in nature, right, to how we examine some of our set of time. Okay, so I'm only putting it out there for, if you want to get into that and you want to research it on your own, right, feel free. All right, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to go any further than this. I'm going to give you this, and I'm going to say, pay attention to the patterns, because we're going to read something at the end of this chapter, right? And we'll go from there. Okay. Everybody follow me so far?
Follow.
All right. No detail into Noach is minute. Okay. Now, I'll say to me. For me, no detail is minute. All right. So, if Noach was doing something like this, right? And mind you, he doesn't have any gauge to quantify that time because he's on the boat with a window. And he's using some animals, right? 2 of them, right? To kind of gauge the parameters of quote unquote time. Okay. Everybody looking at me like, what you talking about? Come on, let's go.
Verse 6, and it came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noach opened the window of the ark which he had made, and he sent forth the raven, which went.
Wait, why the raven? Why send out a raven?
Well, in mythology or something, they use the ravens. I learned a lot in school that the ravens were the sound of death, or they gave alerts or alarming, some danger was around. So they called at the time of thing.
What Aki?
They very intelligent. Very intelligent.
Ravens are very calculated birds. You know what I'm saying? Like, anybody ever watched them before? You know, like look at a raven when, let's say, you throw some bread out and it's with other birds, right? Ravens, like, all jokes aside, like, they have diversionary tactics. You know what I'm saying?
For them to fight for it.
Not even, they don't gotta fight.
No, I'm saying they'll wait for the pigeons to fight for it.
No, I wouldn't even say that. I never really seen pigeons fight before.
I fight, but like,
they probably go at it. But ravens they got a lot of discretion. You know what I'm saying? And how they approach things, right? And what they do. They're very patient. And he'll just be like,
yeah.
right? Okay. Keep that in mind. Keep reading. So he sends out the raven first. Okay.
And he sent forth the raven, which went forth to and fro until the waters were dried up from off the earth. Also, he sent forth the dove from him to see if the waters were abated from the face of the ground. But the dove found no rest for the sole of her foot, and she returned to him into the ark.
So why a dove?
I feel like it just told you that they rest. So once it's like fine, they rest.
Okay.
Maybe it's always
Okay. You got it? So doves, right? Doves, their habitats, right, are in like very low. And doves are pretty clean animals. They don't like being dirty. Right? There's a documentary about doves. They don't like being dirty, clean birds. Right? And even though pigeons are doves, you know what I'm saying? That's not the dove I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? All right. So,
I want the white dove.
Yeah, them. Pretty clean birds. Okay. So, had the dove not come back, well, clearly the water has receded, right? Further enough down that the dove can make its habitat. And it's not, you know, it don't have no questions about, okay, look, man, you know how we get sometimes, look, that ain't clean enough for me. Y'all know how we get.
Then he put out his hand and took her and pulled her into him into the ark. And he waited yet another 7 days. And again he sent forth the dove of the ark, and the dove came into him in the evening. And lo, in her mouth was an olive leaf plucked off. So Noach knew that the waters were abated from off the earth, and he waited yet another 7 days.
I'm going to say for him to know that, I would suggest that he was very in tune with what grows in the earth and how it functions in the earth. You follow what I'm saying? So that's another tip that we can kind of glean from that, right? And it was an olive at that. So when we read about harvesting later, right, and we talk about those 7 fruits that are harvested, and it talks about, and you shall reap in your oil, in your wine, and things like that, right? During around what time? So if olives are growing, right, in that, I'm saying that geographical landmass, right? Do olives grow year round? No. They got a season. All right. So this bird is bringing back olives that can probably quantify for you perhaps maybe what season he's in. But it don't tell us that. It just said that the bird brought back an olive.
Olive branch.
You know what I'm saying? It's not going to bring back just a plucked branch. And you know, what would be the point of that? How would you distinguish one twig from another?
Right.
Okay? Now, right? 7th month, 17th day. Just keep it in mind. Listen.
The dove not again to him anymore. And it came to pass in the 601st year, in the first month, on the first day of the month, that the waters were dried up from off the earth. And Noach removed the covering of the ark.
So it's been about a year, right? Said he was 600 when it all went down, right? Okay. Now what I am going to say is, right, this is a very good description of an agricultural calendar. All right. It doesn't expressly go into a lot of details, but a very good rendition of an agricultural calendar. All right. Tosi,
Verse 13, and it came to pass in the 601st year, in the first month, on the first day of the month, that the waters were dried up from off the earth. And Noach removed the covering of the ark, and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry. And in the second month, on the 27th day of the month, was the earth dried. And Elohim spoke to Noach, saying, go out of the ark, thou and thy wife, and thy sons and thy sons' wives with thee. Bring out with thee every living thing that is with thee, of all flesh, both of birds and of cattle, and of every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, that they may breed abundantly on the earth, and be fruitful and multiply upon the earth. And Noach went out, and his sons and his wife, and his sons' wife, every creeping thing and every bird, and whatever creeps on the earth after their kinds, went out of the ark. And Noach built an altar to Yahweh, and took of every clean beast and of every clean bird, and offered burnt offerings on the altar.
He offered what? Said he took of every clean beast and offered what? What kind of offering? So the burnt offering is what kind of offering? Yes. Offering. Hola. Now I asked this question before we concluded the Torah season last year. Only one person got back to me. I asked what was the primary function of all the offerings, right? What's the primary function of the Olah? Huh? Lucky for y'all, I ain't gonna make you dig too hard on it. Just go to Second Chronicles, Second Debris Hayami, chapter 29. And just read 7 and 8. Second Chronicles 29, 7 and 8. Yes, 7 and 8.
Debris Hayamim, Beit, commonly called the Second Chronicles, Shlika, chapter 29, verse 7. Also, they shut up the doors of the porch and put out the lamps, and did not burn incense or offer burnt offerings.
That's Olah, right?
In the holy place to Elohim of Yisrael, so that the fury of Yahweh came upon Yehuda and Jerusalem.
So you know that the Olah averts the wrath of the Creator, right? It's the substitutionary offering, right? That when it's offered, okay, it averts the wrath of the Creator. That's why you offer the Olah, okay? So the Olah, think about it. There's only 2 offerings that are mandatory, right? That's the Asham, and what's the other one? Kata'at, right? Asham and Kata'at, because there's one law for those offerings. All right? Yeah. So keep that in mind as we learn about offerings, okay? First mention of I'm gonna say an Olah in that context. So now you know functionary purposes of Olah. Okay? All right, go back to the portion.
To avert sins. Verse 21. And Yahuwah smelled the sweet savor. And Yahuwah said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake. For the impulse of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I again smite any more everything living as I have done. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease.
Now, why did they tell us that? Huh?
It was scary. And the fact that the whole, it looked crazy, you know, not knowing what tomorrow was going to bring. And he had to make a promise to him to make him feel better, because that was a scary moment.
Okay. All right. One more key point I want to bring out, right? Read verse 22 again.
Verse 22. While the earth remains.
While the earth remains.
Seed time and harvest.
Seed time, harvest.
Cold and heat.
Cold, heat.
Summer and winter.
Summer, winter.
Yom and Lila. Day and night.
Day and night.
Shall not cease.
Now, why did it tell us those specific patterns?
It's going to be some destruction, but not a total destruction.
They're all opposites.
They are all opposites. True indeed.
I mean, company killer. I'm saying they're really.
Okay, so let's Kane, you're right. So seed time is normally associated with what?
Harvest.
With rain.
Time, rain. Right,
rain.
It's not going to be too much rain.
Okay, so what time is seed time?
Planting. You got to put this seed in the ground, maybe summertime.
So when is that?
I'm thinking summertime.
Who said right before winter? There you go. Right before winter. Okay, so I'm going to just read this right now. Leviticus 26, verse 4. It says, Then I will give you rain in due season, and the land shall yield her increase, and the trees of the fruit shall yield their fruit, and the threshing shall reach unto the vintage, and the vintage shall reach until the sowing time, and you shall eat your bread to the full and dwell in your land safely. The sowing time is the seed time. Okay? That's normally associated with the rain. Remember the early rain and the latter rain in Devarim 11 and 14. Right? And then I'm going to read this out of Yoel chapter 2, verse 23. It says, Be glad, you children of Zion, and rejoice in Yah, our Elohim. For he has given you the former rain moderately, and he will cause to come down for you the rain, the former rain, and the latter rain in the first month. Okay? So remember, the former rain is the early rain. The latter rain, that springtime. Go ahead.
If you will, do some research in the land of Israel, it has a rainy season. So the rainy season is basically right after Sukkot going into Pesach. So that's the rainy season. So that's when you sow a lot of your stuff at. So your beef and stuff will come up.
Okay. And it says harvest, right? So seed time, harvest. Just a real quick scripture on harvest. 6 days shall you work, but on the 7th day you shall rest. In the earing time and in the harvest shall you rest. Right? And you shall observe the feast of weeks, of the first fruits of the wheat harvest, and the feast of ingathering at the year's end. Tekufat, which literally just means the turning of the season. Right? So harvest time that's when you're getting what? First fruits, right? So remember this, right? Throughout some of the prophets, Israel is compared to a basket of fruits. summer fruits, harvested during a certain particular time. Everybody follow what I'm saying? Anybody ever came across that before? This basket of summer fruit. Summer and winter, right? In Psalm 74:17, you have set all the borders of the earth. You have made summer and winter. Jeremiah 40:10. As for me, behold, to serve the Chaldeans, which will come unto us, but you will gather your wine and summer fruits and oil and put them in your vessels and dwell in your cities that you have taken. Micah 7:1. Woe is me, for I am as when they have gathered summer fruits, as the great gleanings of the vintage. There is no cluster to eat. My soul desires the first ripe fruit. Okay? Now, why am I telling you all of this? Right? Why are we giving all? Why am I giving you all of these examples? Patterns. Okay? Out of everything that's getting read, that's being discussed in the portion that it's just out of nowhere. It says that as long as the earth remains, right? This is the pattern of things. Summer, seed time, harvest, summer, winter, heat, cold, day, night. They shall not cease. And you can dig in on that as much as you want. You know what I'm saying?
So the rapture's not coming in.
Wow. You talking about it, right? Okay. Again, right? These things revolve around an agricultural sense of doing things, right? So we can kind of understand those patterns, and we can kind of glean in on those patterns, right? Right on some other things that we kind of deal with from time to time. Because everything has a okay. And I want to say it's in Deuteronomy, but it says, behold those precious things brought forth by the sun. Right? Those precious fruits brought forth by the sun. Okay. So at the beginning of Bereshit, there were two lights. Right? The greater light and the lesser light. And let these lights be in the firmament. Right? And they shall serve as what? Signs, seasons, days, and nights. How everything works in its function. Working together. Not opposite of one another. So, we kind of examine some things like, we've separated so many things, right? But that's actually deviant of creation, because everything in creation it works together. Certain things bring about certain things, right? This rain for this, that rain for that, the sun for this, the stars for that, the moon for that, the ground for that. Right? Okay. Let's see.
Chapter 9, verse 1. And Elohim blessed Noach and his sons, and said to them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every bird of the air, upon all that moves upon the earth, and upon all the fishes of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you, even as the green herb.
Everything that moves. That's what it says, right?
Say that.
I know it was coming.
It do give a separate. It does tell you what to do.
Hey, look. I got my Bible, And it says that everything that moves shall be food for you. Noah did it. And Noah found favor in the eyes of Yah. Huh? No, it says every moving thing.
Every.
What does it say in Hebrew?
Living creature that is with you. Thank you for Leviticus. Right.
You know, I follow the Noahide law.
Right.
But what's the key component in that verse? Not you.
Everything that's with you. I'm sure there was some things.
Oh, that's with the green grasses.
The ones that eat the green
Grasses, basically.
As the green herbage, right? All green herbage was not suitable for food.
So you can't eat grass. Grass ain't good.
Poison ivy.
Right. Go ahead, go get a poison ivy sandwich and see what happens. You know what I mean? But it said, take the green herbage that yields forth
Food.
seed.
And seeds.
Seed. Right? That shall be food for you. Food for you. Right?
But he's smart because he knew that people would.
That's why I told us as the green herbage. So like 20. So think about it.
So everything that that moved, it wasn't necessarily good for you to eat. No, but no, because he says as the green herb, you had what you could eat, the one that you couldn't eat.
There you go.
So he was just giving you.
He's giving you the.
Yeah.
So like, hey, look, if you're gonna consume living things, make the distinction according to the green herbage that I have given you. There's plants you can eat, and there's plants that you can't eat. Right?
Right.
You can't go out, out there and get you some leaves off that tree over there and make a salad and then see what happens. Go cut the grass after you've cut the yard and put it in a bowl and make a salad. And then see what happens. Right? So again, what are we talking about, right? Habits.
That's just folks. That's just folks.
But
to keep it honest, if you really think that's what it means, won't you go out there and go eat your person then?
Right.
I'm just saying, even if the grass was red, it would be confusing, but it wouldn't be confusing to the point where I'm like, I'm hungry, let me go and grab me one of these ankles.
So I want to point out something to everybody, right? A lot of things that we are heavily sedated in as far as like our culture. The number one thing, I didn't say the number one thing, but one of the top priorities is the diet. And let me tell you, the diet has not changed from the time of Noach. You still have things that are clean and things that are not clean. You got vegetables that are good, you got greens that are good, and you got greens that are not good. You know what I'm saying? The bottom line is, right? Ingest those things which are functional for the body. Right? That's what we're dealing with. Right? Making a distinction between that which is functional and that which is not functional. Okay.
And it can change by your blood type. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's not kosher, but it's not fit for consumption for you. Like there's certain things that just don't sit well with me that somebody else may be able to eat. My daughter can't deal with the pineapples. It really does something to her throat. Whereas I'll eat a whole pineapple and chew up underneath the apple tree. But the whole point is that if it's tested and tried, and I believe that Noah had his fair share of testing and trying out things to determine what was good for consumption and what wasn't. And they had their diet specific to their region, to their blood types, to even, like you said, the season, because there's like watermelon, I'm not going to eat that in the wintertime. It's not ripe. It's not good for you in that season. So it may do more harm than good because you're eating it out of season. So if you go with the pattern that was given, even when the Creator sent the animals to Noah in some form of order, he knew the difference between the clean and unclean. The clean animals were coming in multiple numbers, 7 at a time, because of the way that they produce. Whereas the litters, two unclean animals could produce a whole 22, 24 animals one shot. So he didn't need as many. So he had an understanding of every herb, every animal. They knew that they were using pigs and hogs to clean up, so they weren't going to eat those things that were cleaning up. So I don't know what happened over the years where we just decided to throw that out. Okay, but retardedness is still very rampant in the
But let me.
It's indicative to not just your region, but to your blood type as well. You can hurt yourself eating foods that are not conducive to your blood type.
Okay. Okay. All right. So you got your scripture, right? Highlight that verse. All right. Go see. That was
Verse 9:3.
Okay. Verse 9, verse 3. I mean chapter
9, verse 3. Chapter 9, verse 4. But flesh with its life, which is its blood, you shall not eat. And surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it, and at the hand of man. At the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man. Whoso sheds man's blood by man, shall his blood be shed. For in the image of Elohim, he man.
Hold up. In the what?
In the image.
What's that word? What's that word?
Bezalel. In the image.
In the image. Right?
Oh, exactly. Okay.
Not the form. The image. Right? Watch this. So, the thinking pattern and the image. Right? All right.
Verse 7. And as for you, be fruitful and multiply. Bring forth abundantly in the earth and multiply in it. And Elohim spoke to Noach and to his sons with him, saying, And behold, I establish my covenant with you, and with your seed, and with your seed after you, and with every living creature that is with you, of the birds, of the cattle, and of every beast of the earth with you, from all that came out of the ark to every beast of the earth. And I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh.
I wanna point something out here, right? Now remember earlier, right? I was saying when we read this verse earlier, right? It says, I will establish my covenant with you. And I talked about how at the beginning of that word it used the interrogative hey, asking a question, right? In verse 9, it says what I need, right? Hineni. It says make king, right? From the root word again, kum, right? Which means to erect or establish, right? Now you got a declaration of a statement. Now the statement is being made, okay? I am going to do this. And it's being because the terms of the covenant, or what's actually the sign of the covenant, as we're going to read, okay, supersedes in the text as we read it. Everybody following what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
the idea of it and then the action.
So like the way we read this, right? we read this as if it happens chronologically, right? And everything happens over time. I mean, not over time, but day after day after day, right? 600, when the flood came, 601, the waters had completely abated from the earth. Time has taken place, right? Now we're talking about, if you're going to eat meat, make sure you eat clean meat, right? Just as I've given you the green herbage, so have I given you all the moving, living things as well. So time has taken place, right? So say that he found favor in the eyes of the Creator, Noach, right? Through his behavioral patterns, you know what I'm saying? He found favor in the Creator, right? Everybody follow what I'm saying? Now, for all intents and purposes, somebody could say, well, you know what? Well, yeah, that was already known. That was already well established. But what I want to highlight is that through the advent of time, you're learning how this brother lived his life, how he probably instructed his family. You know what I'm saying? How he had regard for the things of the earth. Remember, man's primary function was to do what?
Serve and protect.
Serve and protect. That's your job. So think about that, right? And now we hear, okay, you know what? Now I can outline to you the confounds of the agreement, of the covenant. Everybody follow what I'm saying? All right. Go ahead, Al.
Verse 11. And I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off anymore by the waters of the flood. Neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth. And Elohim said, this is the token.
Here's the sign.
Of the covenant.
Of the covenant.
Which I make between me and you, and every living creature that is with you, for perpetual generations. I have set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth. And it shall come to pass, when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the bow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you, and every living creature of all flesh. And the waters shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh.
So the Most High has regard for covenants and can remember covenants, right? He says, when the bow shall appear in the cloud, he says, I will remember. So when you're told to remember, right? Zakor et Yom HaShabbat. Remember the Sabbath and to keep it set apart. Why? Moses says, when I see covenantal signs, I keep them in mind too. Remember that Zelum is the thinking pattern. And I'm just coining that phrase. Right? In that image and in that likeness was mankind called, was mankind created. Return to that image and that likeness. Because regardless of the fact, right? Yah is the Elohim of all flesh. All flesh has this sequencing pattern in their DNA, right? But since everybody probably can't get it all at one time, there has to be some things to take place to kind of bridge those gaps, right? So Adam in his life, that's a good example. Noach, his life, that's a good example. Enoch, his life, that's a good example. So on, we get ready to make our way to Abraham, and that's getting ready to focus on Abraham and his family and the things that Abraham and his family went through. Now, keep this in mind, right? How many children did Abraham have?
10. Yeah, 7. I say 9.
How many did he have?
9.
How many say 8? How many say 9? How many say 10? Why? Because, check it out, right? Edom is a Hebrew. He's just not an Israelite.
Right.
Keturah's children are Hebrews. They're just not Israelites.
Right, but they still Abraham.
They still his seed.
That's still his son. So
Those
you
are,
have to count.
there you go. So, you know, when we go ham on everybody, remember Abraham has an extensive family. Covenant. Now, check this out. Covenant can get very, very circumstantial too. Okay? So I don't want to blend it in too much, right? But Abraham has a pretty big family. There's a certain type of way you got to treat, or I say you should treat the members of his family. Because to say anything else, that would acknowledge that Abraham didn't instruct that part of his family correctly. And I couldn't say that. Ishmael was still sent off well. He just didn't reside in the house. That doesn't make him any less of his son. Right? He's still a Hebrew. If that's the term we want, he's still a part of the family. Hold on, I got you. If it's an extensive question, write it down.
It's along the vein of this one. Absolutely. Biologically, yeah. When you talk about the covenant getting established, the covenant was established with Abraham, but then that covenant further went through Isaac, though. It went through that line. It didn't, I mean, yeah, they all Hebrews granted got it. But and when you start talking covenantally, though, it went through that vein. And so when Pop right here was saying, well, I'm only concerned about two, I thought to myself, I'm kind of only concerned about one, because the Most High specifically called out Isaac. Now, he didn't condemn nobody else. He said Isaac. And
so even in that covenant, right? You shall not abhor your brother. You know what I'm saying? So that's your family members, right? Now, when we get into the grand scheme of things and we start getting into the life of Abraham and his children, all of our problems are with each other.
That's right.
It's like all with family. So, just like today. It's like all with family. So regardless of however you want to size it up, it's all family. Because I would even say this. Most High says, I'm making this covenant with you and your seed after you. What we only read about, right, is what happens with Isaac and Jacob. We don't read about, or nor do we know, what the covenantal ties might have been with Ishmael and that family, and his sons and daughters that he might have had with Keturah, his other wife, which by definition, they're cousins, brothers, and sisters. You just might be the leader. It's like in your family now, right? You might be the only one that's coming along, learning everything, but then you be like, hey, mom, look, you don't really know anything, so I'm just gonna kick you to the side. And I'm not gonna, you're not, you engage in swine's flesh, right? So I can't really kick it with you right now. No, I'm kind of putting it into some perspective, right? You know what I'm saying? How much we add to the covenantal arrangement, right? That really isn't there. You understand what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, we go hard with a whole bunch of stuff, but that's still your family.
So does that pertain to any type of? Now I'm just asking.
Does it pertain to what?
Just dealing with people in general, depending on who they are, what they are, how they do things, no matter what. It's okay. As long as we doing what's right, we can indulge with anybody.
Watch this. As long as you have the heart and mind to embrace this pattern of thinking, right? If Abraham is our father, right? I want to roll like that. It didn't matter where he went. What I do know is that people said, well, surely the spirit of Elohim resides within that man. There was something about it.
He said, Amen.
Right? There was something, I got you. There was something that resided in him. Now, put yourself as one of his children growing up watching him. Whether your mother is Sarah, Keturah, or Hagar. Abraham is your father.
That's right.
Now, you know,
I would venture to say they all got the same training. I mean, you ain't gonna train one different than the other.
so, you know, and all I'm saying, Adon, is we don't read about how that family necessarily lived its life. We kind of get some stories about Midian and, some of that family and so on and so forth down the line, right? But the pure essence of things, right? We're opening up with Bereshit, right? Congruently, this is about Kol Basar, right? It's about all flesh. It's not circumstantial at this point in time. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah,
so,
designation before we see.
Yeah, I mean, so as far as I'm concerned, we're getting a greater lesson. And if all things have been declared I've shown you the end from the beginning, right? The objective is that, because here's the thing, Most High takes no pleasure in the destruction of the wicked.
Okay.
Right? We do. You know how we get.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're the devil that the Bible speaks of. If you're gonna be damned to all the, all the other kind of stuff that kind of goes on. Right? But the bottom line, the point of what I'm making is that, we should have a regard for all life to bring them closer to their Creator through your actions. Man was separated from Elohim because of deviant behavior. So, we're going to blame it all on the Nakash. Okay. Cool. You can do that. It's your prerogative. But I implore us to take some accountability in the restoration of life on earth.
Essentially, you say that.
Hold on, Imam. Go ahead, Imam.
I was just going to say, Yah chose Israel as an example to the world of his power and what he could do. So if we're going to treat other people other than Israel, people that are not Israel, if we're not going to treat them right, what kind of example would that be? So we have to be decent with everything.
Think about somebody wanting to kill you, right? And Abraham still makes a decision to keep his character upright.
That's hard.
Think about that. He makes a decision to keep his character upright. At least that's what we read. And Abimelech, if you will, or even Paro at that time, right? These are distinguished individuals. So this ain't no run-of-the-mill people that you're dealing with. He's probably got an army. Got some people that can back him up. But his character is so stand up. Now, Noach was a kind of man was he again? Tamim, right? He was upright and perfect in his generations. All I'm saying is there's a pattern to these individuals. They walk a certain type of way. Doesn't necessarily mean that they don't make mistakes, but they walk a certain way. So much that it's recognizable. It's enough for Elohim to say, you know what? I got my eyes on you. That's good. I like what I see. And because I'm going to establish a covenant with you. All right. Proceed.
Verse 17, and Elohim said to Noach, this is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth. And the sons of Noach that went out of the ark, Ham and Yafet. And Ham is the father of Canaan. These are the three sons of Noach. And of them was the whole earth overspread. And Noach began to be a husbandman, and he planted a vineyard, and he drank of the wine, and was drunk, and he was uncovered within his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and told his two brethren outside. And Shem and Japheth took the garment and laid it upon both their shoulders and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father. And their faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness. And Noach awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done to him. And he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be to his brethren. And he said, Blessed be Yahweh Elohim of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. And the Elohim shall enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. And Noach lived after the flood 350 years. And all the days of Noach were 950 years, and he died. Now, these are the generations of the sons of Noach, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And to them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Yawan, and Tubal, and Meshech, and Teras. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, and Riphat, and Togarma. And the sons of Yawan, Elisha, and Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. By these were the isles or coastlands of the nations divided in their lands.
So that's how you kind of know, like, the term, like, Ashkenazi Jews don't
It's wrong.
You know, his father is not Shem. So Ashkenaz is, you know, quote unquote, the term Jew, if you will. That's not going to work. Not according to the genealogy. Now, you want to get in that type of conversation about mixing on down the line and kind of stuff like that. That's a separate conversation. But inherently, Ashkenaz and, you know, that pattern of thinking, that ain't gonna work. Okay, everybody's following it, right?
Okay.
All right. His father is Japheth. Okay, and you know, you follow their history and look where they kind of migrated, right? And you know, that's again, when it comes to the migration of those families, okay, that's a different study. That's a much longer study in itself. But just to make the point, not the same. Okay? Oh.
Verse 5. By these were the isles or coastlands of the nations divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, after their families, in their nations. And the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mitzrayim, and Put, and Canaan. And the sons of Cush, Seba, and Kavilah, and Sabta, and Ramah, and Sabteka, and the sons of Ramah, Shavah, and Dedan. And Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before Yahweh. Wherefore it is said, like Nimrod, the mighty hunter before Yahweh. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar. Out of that land went forth Asher, and built Nineveh, and the city Rehoboth, and Kelak, and Rezin between Nineveh and Kelak, that is a great city. And Mitzrayim begot Lodim, and Anamim, and Lehavim, and Naphtukim, and Patrusim, and Kaslukim, out of whom came the Philistine, or the Philistine, and Caphtorim. And Canaan begot Zidon, his firstborn, and Ket, and the Yebusi, and the Amorites, and the Girgashites, and the Kiwites, and the Archites, and the Sinites, and the Arvadites, and the Zemarites, and the Kamatites. And afterwards the families of the Canaanites were spread abroad. And the border of the Canaanites was from Zidon, as you come to Gerar, unto Azah, as you go to Sodom and Gomorrah, and Admah, and Zeboim, unto Lesha. These are the sons of Ham, after their families, after their tongues, in their lands, in their nations. To Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber, the brother of Japheth, the elder, To him were children born. The children of Shem, Elam, and Asher, and Arphaxad, and Lud, and Aram. And the children of Aram, Uz, and Kul, and Geter, and Mash. And Arphaxad begot Shalach, and Shalach begot Eber. And to Eber were born 2 sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided. And his brother's name was Yoktan, and Yoktan begot Almudad, and Sheleth, and Kazarmawet, and Yerak, and Haduram, and Uzal, and Dichla, and Oval, and Abimael, and Sheva, and Ophir, and Kavilah, and Yobab. All these were the sons of Yoktan, and their dwelling was from Mesha as you go to Sephar, a mountain of the east. These are the sons of Shem, after their families, after their tongues, in their lands, after their nations. These are the families of the sons of Noach, after their generations, in their nations. And from these were the nations of the earth after the flood. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Keep reading.
Oh. Okay, there you go.
Question: Who's the eldest brother out of Shem, Ham, and Japheth?
Shem was the youngest one, the one that got cursed.
Who?
I think it was
Kenan.
I think I can't. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Who got cursed?
Ham.
That's Shem is the
Ham got cursed?
Yeah, Ham got cursed. His son.
No, Ham's son was cursed, not him, not Pop.
So how many people say Shem is the oldest?
I don't think so.
How many people say Ham is the oldest? How many people say Japheth is the oldest?
I think it's
So let's go to
Okay, wouldn't it be, they mention him in the genealogy as Ham, Shem, and Japheth. So wouldn't Ham be first? Shem, no? Okay, I just asked.
It's okay. It tells us who the oldest is.
It also tells us who the youngest as well.
Well. So go to let's look at 10:21 real quick.
Chapter 10, verse 21. To Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber, the brother of Japheth, the elder. To him were children born.
So I'm gonna tell you that in Greek, it says that Shem is the older. Japheth is not the older.
So we don't know what Ham is.
I mean, you can come up to any type of conclusion, but I'm telling you that in Hebrew, it quantifies Shem as the oldest brother.
A minute ago, didn't say when Noach came out of his sleep, from the wine, he knew what his younger Ham had done.
It said he knew what his youngest son
It
had
said
done.
when he came out, I'm just talking about Ham, as far as the younger. It said when he came out of his sleep from the wine, he knew what his younger son had done. And then he began, and that's when he started philosophy first.
As far as that, he may have been talking about the son of Ham, which is Canaan, which it can also still be his son, which is the youngest.
Right.
So we still don't,
Okay.
so, because that's still his son.
Yeah, he's right.
Even though it's his grandson.
Right, it's still his son.
Yeah, I call my grandson.
Like Laban, for example, he says, my sons, right? When Yaakov left.
All right, just wanted to see what y'all had on that. All right, let's continue. We're going to last chapter. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Chapter 11. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said to one another, come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, come, let us build a city and a tower whose top may reach to heaven. And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And Yahweh came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men were building. And Yahweh said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do. And now nothing will be withheld from them, which they have schemed to do. Come, let us go down, and there confound or confuse their language.
You go down. Who's going down? Huh? It said, come, let us go down.
It was us.
You know, who?
Neighbor.
The neighbors? What neighbors?
And each one said to us, his neighbor.
Who told him? The Most High said, let us go down?
Yeah, who going down there?
Tomorrow, the Most High himself.
Whose counterpart?
Same ones that, same,
Wisdom.
was it wisdom and them?
Wisdom.
The same ones that was with him when he made the earth.
So wisdom about to go down there and do the work. I'm putting
The one, maybe not wisdom per se, but the ones that helped him in the beginning. I'm pretty sure they still rise.
His host.
Right, his host. Wisdom's the way down there. Right, I like that.
The same as to say, let us make their heads.
Yes. And I like
Let me show you something. Go to Tehillim 82. Tehillim 82. Let's just read verse 1. Psalm 82, verse 1.
Sefer Tehillim, the book of Psalms, chapter 82, verse 1. A psalm of Asaph. Elohim stands in the congregation of Elohim. He judges among the judges.
the judges went there.
But it says Elohim,
The powers.
not Shofati.
The show.
Let's read it in
The
Hebrew.
judges.
Let's read it in Hebrew. Go ahead, Aki. Read that for me.
Elohim. Nizab Ba'adat El.
So you know how we be like when we pray, we might say the adat. Yes, so that's like another word for congregation or the community. Right? Read.
Be Koreb Elohim.
In the midst, so Kareb or Karab, like around or in the midst of, right?
Yishpot Ad.
So he judges, right?
Ad Matai.
Ad Matai, right? Y'all remember that word, Ad Matai?
Until when?
So he judges, stands in the midst of Elohim and judges.
Into the tribe, Matai, tribes.
Yeah, Matai. Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
so when we say, come let us, if we're saying Elohim, we know that Elohim is plural, so we can't really say that the Most High is one thing,
So
one physical thing.
about that, right? So we kind of talked about that word Elohim last week,
Right.
right? And so I'll break it down to you like this, right? Yah is an Elohim, but there is no other Elohim that is Yah.
Right.
Okay.
He's a singular Elohim.
Right. So
I'm not going there.
Like
Let's
Israel.
go.
so like if you go on the portion, huh?
Yeah. Go ahead.
If you go on the portion last week, read that excerpt I put in there about Elohim. Okay. So when you say we can't say that he's one thing in terms of creation, I got you, and I can see where you're going with that. You know what I'm saying? But in reference to what we might quantify as a deity or a god, or maybe something like that, the divine council is what it's called. And you read about the divine council in the book of Numbers, right? Because it talks about the Most High is amongst the divine council and he asks a question. Shaitan is a part of the divine council. So that right there lets you know that if you say the Nakash was Shaitan, even Shaitan doesn't do anything outside of the orders he's given.
Exactly.
So he functions as he's supposed to.
Exactly.
So Shaitan only means adversary. And anybody can be a Shaitan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anybody, anything can be an adversary. Yeah. You know? So just, you know, as Saul would say, fun fact. All right. Who you? Oh, somebody. Oh, geez.
I was going to say, so it's the same as saying Israel is my son. When the Most High kind of says that, he's not just talking about necessarily the man Israel. He's saying the Israelites. In some places, it's saying a singular name, but it's talking about a plural situation.
Right.
Exactly.
And could it be said that the elements is what he's calling?
Sure. Man is composed of the elements.
Because, I mean, none of us actually look alike in here.
But we do though.
Exactly. So we have things that are made up alike. So that's why we know that we don't look like the creator. So we have elements that the creator has and he put in us.
So our tohar is different.
Say that again.
Tohar. Tohar is your form. Your form is different. But Zelim and Damut is a ka. Because we all possess the image and likeness of Elohim. So as you know, you kind of evolve, I'm going to say, evolve above the letter of the law, right? That's how you should look at your brother and your sister, in the image and likeness of Elohim. And when you regard creation as such, you move accordingly.
And that's Tahar is makeup.
Tahar is like form. So when it described Yosef, right? It said that Joseph's form was beautiful, right? So in other words, Joseph was a handsome man. You know, it describes his form. Okay. Go ahead, Aki.
Tahar. Would that same word be used when Mosai says in either 1st or 2nd Shemuel that I do not look at the appearance of man, but his heart? Is that the
right? You know what I'm saying? Because the appearance of man is only dust. And it's all the same. That distinguishes how you move, how you do things, your intentions.
Okay.
All that's kind of embodied in your nefesh, right? It said that the imagination of men had become corrupt continually, meaning his purpose was continually changing.
Mm-hmm.
His function was continually changing. So, you know, it might call it something like evil. You know, it might say something like that, right? But remember, right, man has a primary function. Simplest said, serve and protect. Be a good steward over what you're given, right? And guard it. Keep a good watch over it, right? Serve creation, serve each other, right? And keep the continuation of life. Guard life, protect life. So later on, he might tell the Israelites, I set before you today life and death. Choose. Other words, serve and protect. That's your job. Okay? All right, let me finish reading this, and then we'll do the questions and stuff. Go ahead.
Verse 9. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because Yahweh did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did Yahweh scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. These are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old, and begot years. And Shem lived after he begot Arphaxad 500 years, and begot sons and daughters. And Arphaxad lived 35 years, and begot Shelah. And Arphaxad lived after he begot Shelah 403 years, and begot sons and daughters. And Shelach lived 30 years and begot Eber. And Shelach lived after he begot Eber. And Eber lived 34 years. And he begot Peleg. And Eber lived after he 30 years and begot sons and daughters. And Peleg lived 30 years and begot Reu. And Peleg lived after he begot Reu 209 years and begot sons and daughters. And Reu lived 32 years and begot Serug. And Reu lived after he begot Serug 207 years and begot sons and daughters. And Serug lived 30 years and begot Nahor. And Serug lived after he begot Nahor 200 years and begot sons and daughters. And Nahor lived 29 years and begot Terach. And Nahor lived after he begot Terach 119 years and begot sons and daughters. And Terach lived 70 years and begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Now these are the generations of Terach. Terach begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran begot Lot. And Haran died before his father Terach in the land of his nativity in Kasdim. And Abram and Nahor took wives for themselves. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife, Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Yiscah. But Sarai was barren. She had no child. And Terach took Abram, his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarai, his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went out with them from Kasdim to go into the land of Canaan. And they came to Haran and dwelt there. And the days of Terach were 205 years, and Terach died in Haran.
Hey, why do we talk about Terach? I mean, I got it. I got you. So it says that Terach, the days of his life were 205 years. And Terach died in Haran. Terach took his son, his nephew, right? And it says his daughter-in-law, Sarah, they left of the Chaldees, right? And came into Canaan. And then they went into Canaan. And then it just tells us that, at the end of the portion, right? It tells us that, pretty much Terah died, right? In Haran. But, I mean, why tell us that?
That's what Abraham came from.
He did come from it. Okay.
Like, it's just representing that. It's showing you like the movement that they wind up being in.
Okay. All right. What I can.
I was going to say something similar to my own. Like it shows you that he was a journeyer as well, and that's a character that Abraham had.
For me, it shows that there's separation, and now Avram has to take his family on the journey that perhaps his father wasn't. He had to go his own way, and even though Terah went to Canaan, you see, he went back to Haran. He did not stay with Avram in that journey. So there was separate lives. He had a whole nother mission. He's not, now we have to think, this is where Avram came from. And for me, like in this captivity, we can look at our parents and as swine eaters and Exodus observers, and still learn something from them and be able to make that separation. So it's almost like, for me, a helpful hint that there is a power that was with Avram back then that even was with Terah, but he didn't know that. But the separation is about to be made for real when Terah dies and Avram continues in his journey to find this place that the Creator said would be for him. But I think Terah wanted to pretty much see what was going on in the mind of Avram, so he followed him to Canaan. but he realized, hey, this is not for me. This is not my portion. That's what I read into when I was reading it. And I mean, he went as far as he was going to go. That's just, it wasn't his portion. Abraham was the one that was called by the Creator. Abraham was the one that thought about the Most High and envisioned him and meditated on him.
I agree with you, sis. Said that he was going to stop. Actually, his name means to delay. So he's just fit to just delay or stop, or he didn't want to go any further.
Right.
So let me ask y'all this, right? When Abraham passed, said he was gathered to his people. Who? Which one?
I think the people are kind of odd. I think that anybody that gathered themselves to Abraham to make a covenant and follow Abraham wherever he went. So he was, I think he went back, they took him back home to Ur. Hold on, that area.
So I just want to, just keep that in mind as we continue the journey. Said he was gathered to his people. So purposes, we know who his people were, right? They acquired some souls. We talked about that, and they had some people that followed him, and so on and so forth. But just keep that thought in mind. All right. Did you finish it up?
Yeah.
Okay. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Yeah.
So I'm gonna just open it up for any questions anybody got, just real quick. All right, y'all don't get too heavy on me right now. All right, go ahead.
All right. So my question would be: so we know the covenant covenant was given to Noah, right? So was there a covenant beforehand that was established? And if not, then why would the Most High destroy the earth for their wickedness if there wasn't a standard or practice of way of being beforehand?
Okay, so when you say, was there a covenant before, the text discusses a covenant being given between Noach and the rest of all flesh and animals and so on and so forth. Right? So even though the word probably isn't used, before Genesis 6, right? What is a covenant?
It's an agreement.
It's an agreement, right? What was the agreement, right, that was made before?
Okay.
Or was there an agreement?
It was.
Huh?
I know.
What was it?
Or to protect and serve the earth.
So the first commandment that he was given was what?
Work.
What's the word?
The first command, the first task was to name the animals.
Okay.
Would you call that a command?
Anything that the Most High instructs us to do.
You know? The word. And then he said, I'm not going to get that place.
To be fruitful and multiply?
Multiply, that's right.
Okay. So do y'all say that that's a covenant?
Okay.
I'm not making an agreement to sell my child a cleaner room. I'm telling you to clean the room.
Well, as you demonstrated, point out, a covenant consists of parts. So you can't just have the one part without the rest for the covenant, which is what you're getting at. It's a command.
It's a bilateral contract.
Be fruitful and multiply. I'm telling you to do something. That's not a covenant because there's nothing on my behalf. That's all you.
You're telling me what to do and how to do it.
Right.
So you got the agreement, and then you got the sign of the agreement. All right?
Okay.
I'm not going to say that there was or there wasn't. You know what I'm saying? The text doesn't really convey that, right? In the terms of berit being listed in the vocabulary when we're reading. But somebody probably could surmise through covenantal language, you know what I'm saying, how covenants really function, right? So you kind of got to ask yourself this question, right? What need is there to enter into covenants at this point, starting with Noah? You know what I'm saying? So at this point, you know, we know that mankind has been deviant of its purpose, of its function, up until the point of Noach, right? It said that people were just starting to, man's purpose has shifted. Right. He thinks a different kind of way now. Kind of things happen, you know what I'm saying? It's like the connection tie is severed, right? So to bring the connection back, you know, we gotta have some rules, we gotta have some boundaries. I need you to understand what's going on here. I need you to understand what I require for you to do in order for our relationship to work. Anytime you get in a covenant with somebody, right, you define the constituents of that agreement. You got to do this, and I got to do this. If we don't agree to do that, here are some of the consequences that can happen, you know what I'm saying, as a result of you not doing this, right? So the agreement was, don't touch the tree. Okay. You said don't touch the tree, I ain't going to do it. Because in the day that you do it, you're going to die. Right? That was the agreement that was made. But it doesn't necessarily use the word agree. But somebody could suggest that that's covenantal language. You could. So like if you kind of follow the pattern of that, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you can go either way.
I like that. That's tough.
You can go either way. You know what I'm saying? But and again, you know, you want to say, well, what was the sign of the breaking of the covenant? You know what I'm saying? So I mean, there's several other questions that can follow that very one question.
My apologies. So I lied. It wasn't looking.
Yeah. So I mean, it just depends on how you want to scale it back. You know what I mean? Okay. Next question.
I have a question. This might just be a matter of chronology. I'm not sure, but then when we talk about Babel, we talk about Babel, and when we talk about Babel, right? And it says, you know, it talks about the generations, and it says, you know, each generation spoke its own language, you know, after each. After people, right? But then later it goes down to Babel. So I said it might be a matter of chronology. And it says everybody spoke the same language. So I'm like, oh, wait a minute. It said that everybody spoke a language after their people. Language. So I said it might be a matter of chronology. It may not be, you know, like you were saying right after her. You know what I mean? It could have been at a point everybody spoke, and then at this point it was confined. So I don't know, but just
it's like what's the lingua franca of today?
Say again?
What's the lingua of this time?
Was it English?
English.
Yeah.
Right? So the lingua franca of that time might have been a Canaanite linguistical system. Right? So like any Canaanite linguistics, right, it has several I'm gonna say it has several derivatives of it.
Right.
You follow what I'm saying? So for an example, Hebrew is very close to Ugaritic, very close to the Akkadic language and stuff like that. So I mean, if it, you know, to say that, hey, look, they spoke English, and I'm just using English as an example. You know, they all spoke one language, and that language was English, and they all kind of communicated that way. I don't know. I would suggest more so that whatever the lingua franca was at that time, that's what they were engaged in, whatever that was. And yes, it could be a matter of chronology. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, for all intents and purposes, I don't know what language Adam spoke.
Right. Yeah, no, I wasn't going to be specific. I just meant in the following of the text, it says, and everybody, when we were breaking out the generations, the genealogy, they all spoke after. To me, it implied or either directly said they spoke a different language because as they were going to each brother and family, you know, they spoke after their people, and these spoke after their people, and then they spoke after their people, and then later it comes and says everybody was. So it could be or not. It's just, you know, what is that about?
Oh, I was going to say, so I was wondering about that. So this might not a question, but this is how I got to understand. It might be, might not be. So I make a natural, like, so if you're talking money, you're talking my language. That's my language. It don't matter what other language you're talking money, you're speaking the same language. Now, in the same breath, they were talking about all having their hearts and minds on one desire. They were unified in a goal. So they were talking in language to elevate and build this tower. So the language is being applied in that goal. It might not have been actual words. What might have been? But I just took it as, okay, they talking in language of unification for this goal.
Well, I would say this. They were all brethren. They all came out the same house, so they absolutely spoke the same language at some point. I mean, at some point, they definitely were speaking the same language. I was just, when they, just the verse when we were breaking down, saying, they spoke after their people, because, of course, now, and then again, maybe at the point in time of them being confounded, all of the family groups were confounded to the same language. So, when it was broken up, hey, all people in this, church, they speak this. And I don't know. That's it. It just may have been a matter of understanding working out. It wasn't real deep.
Gotcha. Okay. Huh? Sister.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
In chapter 10, like the names, that's a genealogy, right?
Yes.
How would you incorporate the daughters? Because that goes to the middle. It doesn't go to the
So that's a good question, right?
I was going to question why there's no daughter's name. But
Well,
they were there.
So I'll put it to you like this, right? Patrilineage, right? What does patrilineage describe in the Tanakh? So you kind of know you trace the seed line via the father. It doesn't say that they didn't have daughters as well, right? And some people kind of suggest that the top Tanakh embrace it in the way that it kind of carries the male embodiment in the text, but there are other places where females are listed in the genealogy, right? So like whenever they talk about kings, right, they always list the mother. And there's a reason why it does that. Anybody know why?
So about kings, they always list the mother, you said?
Yeah. So like Solomon. It say who his mother is.
Important, I guess, with the important one.
But what is it teaching you about the imam?
She's paid a major part of his life.
I'm about to say she was with the Most High.
So like, fun fact, right? Got me on that. The same word for if in Hebrew is the same word for mom. But if, and if you kind of get into some of those readings, or you get into the book of Mishle and you study that really good, right? This is why women are so necessary, what I'm saying, when it comes to upbringing the children. You understand what I'm saying? Because they have such an influence on the child. You know what I mean? And let's just say that, that's not the case, right? The Imam is not the teacher of her Yeladim or whatever the case may be, right? It says, do not forget your mother's Torah. Why? Women got a bond with children that we just don't have.
They be with them more than the men.
They are. And I tell my wife all the time, like, listen, when they like this, you got that. But when they 3, 4, as soon as you can, and you can say a little bit of stuff, I'm good, right? But women have such an impact on the Yeladim, right? They have such an impact on how they develop in a functional sense, right? Women nurture that functionality. But, the Abba, he does exactly what he does. You know what I'm saying? Structures provides the boundaries, right? Provides the boundaries, instructs correctly, it kind of builds them up, right? But if you look at Solomon's reign, you look at how he handled business, right? This is where he can get the term Isha Khalil from, right? Because who did he watch? His imam. Who did he learn certain things from? His imam. It's not to diminish his album, right? But what is it in the book of Ruth? If I'm not mistaken, in the book of Ruth, you find that term Isha Khalil, you know what I'm saying, in reference to those women and what they did and how they carried out their function. Everybody follow what I'm saying? So, if a mother does her job in that regard, you see that these brothers, they kind of rise to this type of status, right? And the adverse of that, is something else. right? It all has a function, but I mean, all that to say that it does list the Nashim, you know what I'm saying, in certain categorical senses. But in terms of tracing a family lineage, right, it always goes through the male. The seed. You follow what I'm saying? Say what?
You wouldn't know if they had daughters or not.
Oh, you might say something like, well, he had sons and daughters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I will tell you this, that anytime you see a female like listed and she stands out, it's because she did something extremely remarkable. Like, for example, Sarah talks about Sarah, but Sarah was barren. And then she bare children at a you understand what I'm saying? So, like, you know, it's not to diminish the essence of a woman. You know what I'm saying? Because she's made very well. You know what I'm saying? She has a very, very good makeup. But to answer your question, like, you know, just in terms of dealing with lineage, that's why you see it like that. Okay. All right. Any more questions?
I have one question.
Yeah.
My question is, on the word Tohar,
Go ahead.
you said it means form.
Right.
Okay, could you spell it? That you read for Rakhsha?
Sure.
Because when I looked up, so only thing I saw was error and confusion. So that, never mind.
Huh?
But I still need to know the spelling of it.
Okay. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna put it up there on the board. Anybody else got a question? No? Excuse me?
I got it. It's a tab, an iron, and a resh.
There you go. All right.
It is Tohar, not Tohar. It's an iron, hour. So it's Tohar. That's wrong.
My question is more for like the patterns of behavior.
Go ahead.
If we're trying to, you know, be one as a nation again.
I can't hear you, sis.
If we're trying to be one and as a nation again, how do we use our patterns of behaviors to, you know, put us back on track?
If we're trying to be a nation again, how do we use our patterns of behavior to put us back on track? Well, we would first have to define, well, what kind of patterns of behavior do we already have? You know, like I'm just my personal opinion is that, you know, that when you look at nation building, right? Every person has a function, right? The overall function, you know, in its categorical sense is pretty outlined and it's pretty clear, right? Serve and protect, right? Help me, right? Kind of falls into those brackets, but then there's subcategories too. And you know, you got to really examine, like, you know, what is your function? In that, you know what I'm saying, how do you function as an individual? You know what I'm saying? How do you contribute to, you know, what we might coin as nation building, right? I think that if we're going to do something like that, if you want to say our patterns of behavior, I think one of the first ones that we gotta harness in on is discipline. You know what I'm saying? Because if you look at it, right, man became deviant because of a lack of discipline. Something simple, and that's why, like, you know, when it gets to Israel, what's the main word that's said over and over and over again? Who? No. You just said it. Listen. Listen, why? The more you listen, the more you pay attention, the more you can follow things through, the better disciplined you become. Right? As we become more disciplined, we become more receptive to our surroundings. Right? Remember, and I have to, put it in a framework for the person that is exclusively in the Tanakh only, right? Exclusively is, letter for letter in the Bible or in the Torah. It said that they heard the voice walking. So what is that telling us? It was in a different place. To be able to hear the voice walking, that's to say, you know what? You can be guided. You know what I'm saying? You can be guided. It's like, and the opposite of that is, okay, y'all, what do I do? But, how can you hear the voice walking, yet recognize your surroundings and get the messages through what's happening right in front of you? It's still a sense of hearing the voice walking. It could have been a literal voice, but you know what? Your pattern of thinking is so in tune, it's so tight. You know what I mean? You capture it right then and there. You follow what I'm saying, sis? So if we want to do that, we got to establish a pattern of being disciplined people first. Right? We got to be disciplined. And I know that takes time and that takes a lot of work. But we can do that. If we want to be disciplined, we can be disciplined. And believe it or not, it starts with the simplest of things. So we just have to make a decision. As they became more corrupt in their ability to function, their purpose became more and more less functional. And that's why, we read, hey, look, Elohim says he wants to destroy the earth. I relented that he created man. Why? Why did he relent that? Why did he repent of that? He said that man was told mayo in the beginning.
But then when they became more like people, they weren't that great.
And I think that I got you. I think that that's one thing, sis, that highlights how much we should really focus on the internal essence of your being, like making your soul loyal. Because think about it, in the grand scheme of things, right? Whenever you did something you wasn't supposed to do, what type of conversation did you have inside? Like, how did you talk to yourself? So what's that talking to you?
That's the most high. That's the not common sense.
That's the higher self. You won't surely die.
Right.
In fact, you're gonna be able to. You don't even know how you're gonna be able to think. You know how we be like, if you cut the corn on this one, just cut it this one time.
Wait, I got one for you. May contain traces of them.
Right, but it ain't all the way wrong.
Might contain traces.
Okay, so I would suggest that we foster an environment like that. That makes sense. Okay.
Curry goes right on what you was talking about. I like Curry go too. The more that we connect with the Creator on a personal level, on a deep level, the more we are all just going to get connected to it. Because everything always starts with the self, with the connection with the Creator. And then once you do that, then the doors are open up for other things. Because if you don't have connection with the Creator, while we moving, we're going to think that we're moving right. In our situations, no matter what happens, how it ends up. And if you're not meditating on like, all right, this happened wrong, so what can I do better in this situation? You're not thinking about it like that. If you're just thinking about it like, right, this is just life. It happens. So get over it. Keep it moving. So you ain't gonna never grow. You're always gonna be in that area of going through trouble, people not liking you, you having experiences. It's not gonna be good. So I just feel like, you know, the more we connect with the Creator personally, the more we could be more closer to each other, you know.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Toda y'all for your attentiveness on today's portion. Thank you for your questions. Hallelujah.
So, Lord Father, Most High's name, by bringing forth some songs of praise, the Bible shop. I need the fire choir up here, please. I within some people to help me. Let's not act bashful. You already know what time it is. Yeah. Matter of fact, the chief queen of I'm gonna let you help this sinking ship. Sabbath shalom, Sabbath shalom.
Yes, Lord.
Y'all come on up here.
I need to be up there. Sit down.
Like the menorah, down we go around. Worship our on the Sabbath. We will sing songs of praise. on the Sabbath. We will sing, celebrate together in His name. I like to say, it's time to worship. Hallelujah, hallelujah. His word will be in my mouth. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Forever will be in my mouth. Light of Pandora, now it's so far down. Word of my Sabbath. We will sing of the praise together. It's time to say, time to worship. On the Sabbath, we will sing of the praise together in His name. It's time like today, it's time to worship. Hallelujah, you are the source of my life. Oh yeah, you are the source of my life. Oh yeah, you are the source of my life. And there's none like you. Oh yeah, you are the source of my life. Oh yeah, you are the source of my life. Oh yeah, you are the source of my life. And there's none like you. You are hell. You are King. You are Alpha and Creator of everything. The great I am. You are the Lord. You are King. You are Alpha and Creator of everything. The great I am. You are the Lord and King. You're the God by the side. You're the living from the fire. Oh yeah. You are the oh yeah, you are the source of my life. Oh yeah, you are the source of my life. And there's none like you. Oh yeah, you are the source of my life. Oh yeah, you are the source of my life. Oh yeah, you are the source of my life. And there's none like you.
She says.